You know your mother's dying. She should sacrifice for her grandchildren's future. That's what my wife said. She looked me in the eye and said that, like it was reasonable, like it was noble, like using $250,000 from my mother's treatment fund was some kind of investment, not theft. She drained that account without a word. The one I'd spent years building. The one that was my mom's only shot at living. And just like that, it was gone. Now, most people would explode, break something, scream. But I didn't. I picked up my phone, sat at the table, and started writing names down. And what happened next? Let's just say, they thought I was quiet because I was weak. Turns out, I was just getting ready. My name is Logan Grant. I'm 40 years old. I work as a senior systems engineer for one of the largest electric vehicle companies in the country. I build things that last. I solve problems. I keep complicated systems running when no one else can. That's my job. That's how I think. That's who I am. But this story isn't about machines. It's about betrayal. It's about boundaries. And it's about what happens when someone crosses a line they were warned clearly not to cross. It's about my mother, Lorraine. And the day I realized the woman I married was more committed to her personal brand than she was to basic decency. Before I dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you didn't even think to watch your back? Have you ever made sacrifices for people, only to find out they were using you the whole time? If that hits a little too close to home, go ahead. Tap the like. Leave a comment. Because this story, it might sound unbelievable, but I promise you, it's all true. And if you stick with me until the end, you'll understand exactly why I did what I did. Let's rewind just a bit. I grew up in North Texas, raised by a woman who held everything together on a waitress's salary and pure will. My dad dipped out before I was 10. Mom never made speeches about resilience. She just worked double shifts and made sure the lights stayed on. She taught me that real love shows up quietly. In groceries, in gas money, in school pickups. When I made it, got into engineering, started building a life, I always knew I'd pay her back. Not in words, in action. So when the diagnosis came, when the doctor said stage 4, and the room went silent except for the sound of my mom's breath shaking, I knew I wouldn't just watch her fade. There was an experimental gene therapy program up in Boston. Small cohort. Promising results. But the cost, $250,000 up front. Insurance didn't touch it. I didn't blink. I started working extra. Side gigs. Freelance jobs. Sold a car I loved. Rented out my garage on weekends. Every cent I made outside my salary. I moved into what I called the fund. Capital F. I even printed out one of those old school thermometer charts and taped it to the fridge in my mom's apartment. Every time I made a deposit, I'd fill in a little more with a red Sharpie. She laughed at it, called me old-fashioned. But every time she saw that line creeping toward the top, she'd smile. We were close. Closer than I realized. Until I saw what it felt like to almost lose her. This fund, it wasn't just money. It was hope. It was time. Now here's where the other half of the story enters. Aubrey. We'd been married for 4 years. She was beautiful, elegant, always camera ready. She ran a lifestyle brand influencer talk for curated motherhood content. Think matching outfits, iced coffees, filters, reels about morning routines, and sponsored posts about toothpaste. She had 2 kids from a previous relationship, Bella and Micah. Their dad was mostly noise and no follow-through. So I stepped in, not to replace anyone, just to show up. I took them to soccer, science fairs, dental appointments. I didn't try to be their father. I tried to be steady. Our financial arrangement was clear. I covered everything: essential mortgage, food, car, insurance, school supplies, the not glamorous middle of life. Aubrey handled the extras: holiday decor, photo shoots, subscription boxes, glow-up content. I didn't monitor her spending. I just made one rule. The fund was untouchable. I said it out loud, more than once. This is not for us. It's for my mother. Not for vacations. Not for private school. Not for emergencies. No one touches this fund but me. She smiled, nodded, even posted a story once fighting for Grandma Lorraine hashtags, hearts, piano music. I believed her. That's the part that still stings, because I believed she heard me. I thought she understood what this meant. Turns out, she was just waiting for the right moment. And when it came, she didn't hesitate. She didn't ask. She just took. And what she did next made me realize I was married to someone I didn't know at all. I want you to imagine something. Imagine coming home after a 14-hour shift, your back aching, your hands gritty from brake dust, and your mind focused on one thing and that little red thermometer taped to your mother's fridge. It's only inches from the top. You're this close. One more paycheck. One more side job. And your mom gets a shot. Not a guarantee, but a chance. Now imagine walking into your kitchen and seeing all of it gone. But we're not there yet. Let me back up. Our house sat in a quiet neighborhood just outside Austin. Suburban, safe, full of Pinterest-worthy porches and lawn flags for every holiday. Inside, our place looked like a catalog. White walls, gold hardware. Signs that said things like live, laugh, learn in cursive font over the pantry door. Aubrey had a knack for aesthetic. Our kitchen was full of pale wood and open shelving that was pretty but useless for actual storage. She loved creating a lifestyle, and she did it well. Every morning started with a flat lay coffee, planner, motivational quote. Every week had a theme. Monday manifestations, Wellness Wednesday, Thankful Thursdays. It looked great online. But behind the camera, things weren't quite so shiny. Don't get me wrong, Aubrey loved her kids. And she wanted them to have the world. The best schools, the best clothes, the best start in life. I didn't disagree with any of that. But I believed you gave the best by showing up, not by performing. Bella was 12. Smart, a little anxious. The kind of kid who read ahead in the syllabus and worried about being picked last in gym. Micah was 10. Curious, talked fast, built contraptions out of cereal boxes, and always had crumbs on his shirt. They weren't mine by blood, but I treated them like they were. I helped with homework, packed lunches, took them to robotics club and soccer games. I never expected medals or thank yous. That wasn't the point. They were good kids. They deserved stability. So I gave them what I had: time, consistency, support. Meanwhile, Aubrey was focused on building a brand, not just a personal one. A motherhood lifestyle platform, she called it. She had about 30,000 followers. Small compared to some, but loyal. She did sponsored content for skincare, planners, even vitamin water. Her captions were always polished. Her reels were always set to music that made everything seem effortless. And somewhere along the way, she started to believe her own content. To her, life wasn't about reality. It was about narrative. About curating a story that made you look like you were thriving even when you were quietly pulling from someone else's lifeline. We had conversations about money. More than once. I was clear this household was already a stretch. Private school not an option. Not while we were saving for my mother's treatment. She smiled, nodded, said she understood. And for a while, it seemed like she did. But then came the school tours, the glossy brochures, the just-looking appointments. At first, I thought they were just dreams. Aubrey was always browsing something: homes, cars, schools without any real intention to act. But this time felt different. She was quiet when I mentioned the fund. Stopped asking about my mom. Focused entirely on the kids' futures. I should have seen it, but I didn't. Because I thought love meant trust. And I thought trust meant you didn't need to monitor the people closest to you. That was my mistake. And then came the tension. Little moments, offhand comments. Aubrey would say things like, "It's not fair your mom gets all your attention," or, "I just wish we had a chance to grow too." She framed it like ambition. But under the surface, it was resentment. She saw my mother as competition. And she saw the fund as a resource being wasted on someone who didn't fit the storyline she was trying to tell online. I remember one afternoon. She sat on the couch filming a reel with Bella. The caption was, "Raising Queens takes strength." Meanwhile, I was in the garage under a customer's Jeep, sweating through my shirt trying to make the next deposit for gene therapy. I didn't say anything. I just kept working. Because I thought that's what men did. They provided, they protected, they stayed steady. But the truth is, sometimes silence isn't strength. Sometimes it's just a crack forming beneath your feet. We weren't fighting. Not exactly. But something had shifted. She talked more about investing in the future. Less about gratitude. More about what she thought we deserved. Less about what we already had. And still through all of it, I didn't suspect anything. Because betrayal doesn't usually come with warning signs. It comes with smiles. With polite nods. With phrases like, "Don't worry. I've got it covered." What I didn't realize was, Aubrey had already decided. She wasn't going to wait for the fund to reach the top. She was going to take it. Not just for school tuition, not just for uniforms, but for a story she could sell to her followers. A story where she was the brave, single-ish mom, the visionary, the hero. And I was just the background, the financial engine behind her brand, the man who worked in a garage while she filmed morning routines. It would all come crashing down on a Tuesday afternoon. But by then, it would be too late to stop it. It was a Tuesday, one of those August days in Texas where the air feels like a blow dryer. I was working under a Chevy Bolt in the company lot, tight deadline. Busted suspension and sweat was running down my spine in sheets. My phone buzzed in my shirt pocket, once, then twice, then a third time. Now, I don't usually check messages while I'm under a car. But 3 buzzes in under 10 seconds, that wasn't normal. So I slid out from under the lift and grabbed my phone. Notifications from my bank. Lakefield Credit Union. The same place where I'd opened the fund. Withdrawal alert. $204,000. Then another for 23 grand. Then a pending payment to an institution I didn't recognize. I froze. For a few seconds. I couldn't even process it. I just stared at the numbers. trying to make sense of them. It felt like a joke, a glitch, like someone had typed the wrong decimal point. But my gut knew. Before my brain caught up, my gut knew. I wiped my hands on my jeans, slid out from under the car, and called the bank. The woman on the phone was calm, professional. She walked me through the transactions, said they were authorized from my login. With two-factor authentication, I said, "That's not possible. I've been at work since 6:30. I haven't logged into anything." She paused, then said the thing I didn't want to hear. "If this was done by someone with domestic access, you may need to file a report." My chest went cold. I hung up, grabbed my keys, and left the shop. Still wearing my work boots, still covered in grease. I didn't care. I just drove. Fast. The closer I got to the house, the more my stomach twisted. Because a part of me already knew what I'd find. I just didn't want to admit it yet. When I walked through the front door, the air smelled like hairspray and cinnamon. Aubrey was in the kitchen, packing lunches, smiling. On the table, 2 new blazers, 2 plaid skirts, a glossy admissions brochure with gold-embossed letters. Hawthorne Academy, private, elite, pretentious. And now, fully paid for with my mother's medical fund. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything. I just said, "What did you do?" She looked up, calm as ever, and said, "I enrolled the kids. We talked about wanting the best for them. This is the best." She said it like it was a group decision, like I'd nodded along, like I hadn't made it crystal clear that the fund was off limits. My voice was shaking, but I kept it steady. "You used the fund. You used my mom's treatment money." Aubrey didn't even blink. She shrugged and said, "Logan, your mother is almost 60. She had her life. Our kids are just starting theirs. You need to stop letting guilt manipulate you." That sentence had snapped something inside me. Not loudly, not with fire, but with ice. She called it guilt. I called it love. She called it manipulation. I called it responsibility. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then, as if the theft wasn't enough, she turned to Bella and Micah, who were sitting nearby, and said loud enough for me to hear, "We're going to a school that values excellence. Because I fought for you." Like she was a hero, like I was the villain. That night, I got the second slap in the face. But this time, it came from my phone. Aubrey had posted on TikTok. The video showed her holding up the school uniforms, captioned, "Hard choices today. But strong moms make them. We break cycles. We invest in our children's future." The comment section lit up. Sparkle emojis, crown emojis. "You're a queen. Manifesting the best men just don't get it." Somewhere in the thread, someone asked, "How'd you afford it?" Aubrey responded, "Some men think saving is hoarding. I chose growth." And then, "His mother keeps him small with guilt." That one hit different. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about the story she was telling. To the kids, to the world, and most painfully, to herself. I texted her, "Refund it. Reverse the payments. Call them and explain." She responded in under 10 seconds. "Deposits are non-refundable. It's done." Done. Just like that. She had burned the bridge and then danced in the ashes. That night, she posted again. A photo of the kids holding Hawthorne Academy banners. Caption, "When a mother believes in her kids, doors open." She even put up a poll. Would you make a sacrifice for your kids' future options? Obviously, and of course, no one even saw the missing option, not if it meant stealing from someone who's dying. But I saw it. I saw all of it. The blazers, the banners, the comments from strangers who thought they knew the story. And I realized I wasn't just up against a thief. I was up against a narrative. Aubrey had made herself the protagonist, and I was just a minor character in her redemption arc. Except she forgot one thing. I don't yell, I don't threaten, I build systems. And if she thought I'd let this slide, she didn't understand what kind of man she married. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the fan and trying to slow my breathing. Aubrey was next to me, scrolling her phone, still smiling at comments like she'd just won a prize. I watched the reflection of her screen glow and fade on the wall. She had no idea. Not just what she'd done, but who she'd done it to. You see, people like her assume quiet means weak. But in my world, engineering, diagnostics, system repair, quiet means control. The loudest machines are the ones closest to failure. The quiet ones, they're focused, precise, dangerous, when ignored. I got up around 5, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and hit record. Texas is a one-party consent state, and I wasn't about to let anything slip through the cracks. When Aubrey walked in, I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. I simply asked, "Why did you take the fund?" She didn't hesitate, didn't flinch. Her voice was calm, like she was giving a TED Talk. She said, "Because your dying mother should sacrifice for her grandchildren's future." Click. I ended the recording. I almost dropped my phone. I didn't say a word. Just picked up my pen and opened a blank legal pad. That was the start of the list. The first entry read, "Audio, kitchen confession, 6:08 a.m." By noon, I had built the blueprint. Because I wasn't just reacting, I was designing. I started with documentation. Pulled every bank transaction from the past 90 days, printed the withdrawals, highlighted the entries, flagged the ones that matched Hawthorne Academy. Next, the emails. There was a "Welcome to the Parent Alliance" message in Aubrey's inbox. $2,450 charged to the same account. A receipt from a uniform supplier, $2,180. Monogrammed sweaters, premium leather shoes, a branded satchel for Bella. None of it was subtle, and none of it had my name on it. Except the payments. Those all traced back to me. I opened a fresh folder on my laptop, called it Case File, Medical Fund Misuse. Then I backed it up onto a flash drive. Then I printed it, because I don't trust clouds. Paper doesn't crash. I added screenshots, Instagram captions, TikTok reels, comments where Aubrey told people I was stingy and small-minded. One post even mocked me directly. Some men would rather save money for their mothers than build a future with their wives. Sad. Really, that one, I printed twice. By the end of the day, I had a folder 2 inches thick, and I wasn't done. I remembered something my mom used to say when I was little. When someone shows you they'll burn the bridge, make sure you're already across it. So I made sure. I went to the school first. Hawthorne Academy looked like a country club with a dress code. Marble columns, fountain in the center courtyard, a bell tower that chimed every hour like it had something to prove. I walked into the admissions office, set the folder on the table, and said, "There's been a fraudulent use of funds, unauthorized enrollment. I'm requesting a hold on all transactions and admissions activity tied to this household." The woman behind the desk went pale. She called in her manager. They reviewed the papers. I said one word that changed everything: fraud. Suddenly, everything slowed down. The tone changed. They said, "We'll loop in our legal department. Enrollment will be paused immediately." I nodded, picked up my folder, and walked out. Next stop, my lawyer. I chose a woman named Jamie Soto Sharp. Methodical, no nonsense. She flipped through the binder for 20 minutes without a word. Then she said, "We're filing emergency motions, financial restraining order, exclusive control of medical accounts, a hold on any school-related transactions, and a fraud report." That was it. No dramatics, no speeches. Just legal pressure applied in the right spots, like a wrench turning one bolt at a time. At the bank, I sat with a fraud specialist. We locked the original account, opened a new one with no online access, transferred what little was left, turned off card access, switched to a hardware-based two-factor system. No text codes, no shared devices. She handed me the transaction history in a gray envelope. Thick, cold, like a list of every betrayal you didn't want to believe. Back home, Aubrey was filming in front of the bathroom mirror. Ring light, lip gloss. The caption, "Sometimes leadership isn't popular. I choose excellence." I stood in the hallway and watched for 5 seconds. She didn't notice. I didn't interrupt, didn't say a word. Because the revenge was already in motion. And the beauty of it, she didn't even know the gears had started turning. That night, I brought a new file box into my mom's apartment. She was sitting on the couch watching reruns. Muted the TV when she saw my face. She asked, "What happened?" I said, "I'm fixing it." She nodded and didn't push for more. She just reached out and squeezed my hand. That meant everything. Because I wasn't just trying to protect a bank account. I was protecting the last shot my mother had at living. And the woman I married. She made me choose. So I chose. And I did it with paper. With signatures. With timestamps. No shouting, no slamming doors. Just a quiet declaration of war. And the first rule of my war. No one hurts my mother. Not without consequences. The emergency hearing happened 3 days after I filed the motions. It was held in a windowless courtroom that smelled like cold air and dust. Not dramatic. Not grand. Just a quiet place where decisions got made, decisions that would shape the rest of our lives. Aubrey showed up wearing a cream blazer 2 sizes too confident. She walked in like she was the victim. Like she had been wronged. Like the world was unfair to women who made bold choices. She brought a pink leather planner. It had pastel tabs and gold stickers. She also brought a lawyer who looked like he practiced more at brunch than in litigation. Meanwhile, I came in with my binder. Paper, tabs, evidence. No gloss, no spin. Just facts. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She didn't smile much. Didn't look at anyone longer than she had to. She asked questions, simple ones. "Mr. Grant, can you walk us through the nature of the account in question?" I explained, slowly, clearly. This was a medical fund. It had a singular purpose. Every deposit had a paper trail. Every intention had been stated verbally, in writing, and even posted online by Aubrey herself. The judge asked, "Did your wife have permission to access or use these funds?" "No," I said, "and I have proof." I played the audio. The one I'd recorded that morning in the kitchen. The courtroom went still. Aubrey's voice echoed across the room. Calm. Proud. "Because your dying mother should sacrifice for her grandchildren's future." No one spoke after that, not for a few seconds. You could hear someone cough in the back. You could hear the shuffle of legal pads. You could even hear the judge sigh. Then the questions moved to Aubrey. She tried to pivot, said the school was an investment, said she was leading our family when Logan was stuck in grief. She tried to reframe it as emotional neglect, tried to make it about empowerment, but the judge wasn't buying it. She leaned forward and said, "Ma'am, did you take these funds without consent?" Aubrey started to speak, but her lawyer stopped her with a hand on the arm. Smart move, but too late, because the evidence spoke louder than any spin. Court order granted, on the spot. The judge issued an immediate financial restraining order. I was given exclusive control of the medical fund and any connected accounts. Hawthorne Academy was barred from processing any further payments from our household unless I signed off in writing. A forensic audit was launched to examine all withdrawals, and Aubrey Shee was forbidden from posting anything about my mother, the fund, or the legal case online. Before ending the session, the judge said one thing that stuck with me. She looked at Aubrey and said, "Ma'am, the internet is evidence." That sentence should be printed on every courtroom door. We stepped outside. Aubrey turned to me and said through gritted teeth, "You embarrassed me." I didn't answer. I had the court order in one hand and my binder in the other, the only two things that mattered that day. By the next morning, Hawthorne Academy's legal team had sent an official statement. Enrollment was on hold pending verification of consent. All further activity had been frozen. No more Parent Alliance contributions, no more uniform charges, no more tuition bills. Their tone shifted fast. Suddenly, we weren't a valued family. We were a liability. Aubrey tried to spin it. She posted a story from her car with dramatic lighting, spoke about gatekeeping and narrow-minded men. She used the phrase excellence shamed by mediocrity. I didn't reply, but I did send it to my lawyer and filed it under the tab post-order violations. Meanwhile, the cleanup began. I shut down every shared account. The salon gift card pipeline Aubrey used to quietly flip perks for cash gone. The store cards she used to buy, throw pillows and holiday dishware closed and paid off. The subscription boxes she'd been posting in unboxing reels canceled with receipts saved. And the big one, a car dealership deal she had cooking behind my back. She'd put down a deposit on a used luxury crossover, planned to roll it into a new loan with me as co-signer, had even forged my digital signature on a preliminary financing form. I faxed the dealership a copy of the restraining order and the police report. They shut the file before she could blink. She posted again, a shot of her standing next to her old car. Caption, "Still I rise." No hashtags. Fewer likes. The tide was turning. People noticed. One of her former sponsor brands pulled their tagged content. Another sent her a message requesting not to be associated with ongoing legal disputes. Polite, corporate, brutal. Her income dropped. Her reach faded. And the brand she'd built on the back of someone else's suffering started to fall apart. And me? I kept going. I brought my work habits home. Color-coded the binder. Green for bank records. Red for legal docs. Blue for communication. Yellow for digital evidence. I created a logbook. Every step I took documented. Every transaction recorded. Every lie archived. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about the line. The one I'd drawn around my mother. The one Aubrey stomped across. And from that moment forward, every step I took was measured. Precise, deliberate. No outbursts, No revenge speeches, just silent, systematic justice. And I wasn't even close to finished. You could feel the shift, not in a loud way, but in the small things. The planner brand Aubrey loved. They quietly sent her a message, something about brand alignment and ongoing disputes. Translation: don't tag us, don't associate us, don't bring your mess into our feed. The mom group chat she used to lead silence. The same women who'd posted sparkles and crowns were now posting question marks and side eyes. And her salon. A client complained about being in the background of one of her videos without permission. Within a week, her hours were cut, not fired, just less welcome. 1 shift a week, then none. That's how the fall begins. Not with a bang, with absence, with people backing away, slowly, so they don't get splashed. Aubrey called me from the parking lot, said, "They cut my hours. This is your fault." I reminded her of the court order, told her to direct all non-kid-related communication through legal channels. She hung up, but the fallout wasn't just online. It was practical. Because once she pulled the kids from public school and tried to pivot into Hawthorne Academy, all the residency paperwork lapsed. Now the school district needed proof, updated forms, utility bills. She didn't have them. She texted me 6 times in 1 hour, each message louder than the last. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I emailed the school registrar, attached the court order, sent over the water bill, electric bill, my ID. Bella and Micah were slotted into orientation the next day. Paper, not arguments. Proof, not pleading. That's how you fix things. Her car started knocking. Pre-ignition. Lifter noise. She sent me a video and asked if I could fix it. I told her to take it to a shop. She said she didn't have the money. I said I'd continue supporting the kids directly. Bus passes, school lunches, supplies. No cash, no lifestyle. Just needs. The dealership never released the new crossover. That deposit got folded into the fraud case. She posted a caption blocked, but choosing grace. The likes were fewer this time. The crowd had moved on. Fall candles were trending now. Darren, the kid's dad, finally showed up. Not in person, but in complaints. Child support enforcement sent him a new number, a wage withholding order. He texted Aubrey with a storm of exclamations and blamed me for ruining his life. His life, by the way, hadn't covered lunch accounts in 3 years. I didn't respond. Just sent the court the screenshots and marked the entry in the binder under support enforcement. Compliance initiated. Meanwhile, I started sending groceries, bread, turkey, apples, oatmeal, yogurt. Micah sent me a banana emoji with 3 exclamations. Bella texted, "Thank you for the binder and dividers." I didn't say much, didn't need to. The point wasn't praise. It was protection. I set up recurring deliveries, told the driver to leave the bags by the door and not ring. Because sometimes ringing turns into arguing. I paid the electric bill directly. The school field trip fees, tutoring, sports, bus routes. I gave the kids everything they needed. But I never gave Aubrey $1. She called late one evening. Voice small, tired. "I'm short on rent," she said. "The landlord's going to file. Please help us." I said I'd pay the portion tied to the kids, directly to the landlord. Nothing more. I told her again, don't mention my mother. Don't message unless it's about Bella or Micah. She didn't fight me. Not that time. 10 minutes later, She sent me a photo of the kids sitting at the table with the groceries I ordered. "Thank you," she wrote. No emojis, no hashtags. Then, 10 minutes after that, "Can you send money for gas?" I didn't answer. Because that line I drew, it wasn't a suggestion. It was the only thing keeping this mess from swallowing me whole. And surprisingly, it worked. The kids settled into school. Micah joined soccer. Bella found the robotics table on day one. They were okay. Because even when everything around them fell apart, someone stayed steady. Someone paid the bills, packed the lunches, refused to let chaos look like care. That someone was me. And I wasn't done yet. People always imagine revenge is loud, explosive, public, maybe even violent. But real revenge, real justice, it's quiet. It's methodical. It's not about destroying someone. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. That's the lesson I learned when the dust settled. Aubrey didn't disappear. She didn't have some big breakdown. She just faded into the background, her following smaller. Her stories fewer, her brand a shadow of what it once was. She texted me once more, weeks after everything had calmed. Her message was short: if you ever loved me, you'd invest in us, not just your mother. And for the first time, I answered her with what I wished I'd said from the beginning: I invest in who I am. Without that, there's no us worth having. That was the last time I let her words matter more than my boundaries. The civil claim moved forward. The bank reversed the fraudulent transactions, and the final credits landed in the account just before the deadline for my mother's treatment. I made the deposit at the hospital in person, handed the paperwork to the front desk. It felt heavier than any tool I'd ever carried. My mom finished her first cycle of gene therapy. She was tired. Sometimes she'd sleep half the afternoon, but she was still here. She'd smile when she saw Bella and Micah walk through the door with pancakes and half-finished robotics projects. The house was quieter now. Not empty, just calm. Aubrey tried to keep posting, but the comments faded. People moved on. The world loves a comeback story, but they don't stay for the cleanup. She learned the difference between applause and real support. As for the kids, they adapted faster than I expected. Bella stopped worrying so much. Micah found new friends at the bus stop. Their lives kept moving forward, steady and safe. And me? I kept my routines, paid the bills, fixed what needed fixing. I found satisfaction not in victory, but in consistency. In knowing I drew a line, and I kept it. I didn't let anger ruin me. I didn't let noise distract me. Instead, I let the paperwork do the talking. I let the court orders draw the boundaries. And when Aubrey came looking for the old patterns money, attention. The easy way out, I was polite, but unmoved. There's no parade for a quiet man. But sometimes, quiet is the only thing that gets you through. If you're listening and this feels familiar, if you've ever been betrayed, used, or made to feel small for standing your ground, let this story be your proof. You can set boundaries. You can say no. You can love people and still protect yourself. Revenge doesn't always look like payback. Sometimes it looks like surviving. Sometimes it looks like helping the kids while letting the adult learn from her own mistakes. Sometimes it looks like a blue line at the top of a thermometer chart on your mother's fridge. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change the outcome. But I might draw the line sooner. I might trust my instincts the first time someone dismisses your sacrifice as guilt. You don't have to explain yourself to people who treat you like a stepping stone. You just have to keep walking. So here's what I hope you take from this. Real strength isn't loud. It's in the boundaries you set, the promises you keep, the people you quietly protect. That's how you win. That's how you heal. If this story meant something to you, if it gave you courage, or just helped you feel less alone, share it, leave a comment. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is just building a life where you no longer need any. Thank you for listening.